Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, September 14th, 2022 Planning Board meeting for the town of Raymond. The Planning Board does have Planning Board will come to order. We do have a quorum and we will start with roll call.
Mike D'Arcangelo.
Greg Foster.
Robert O'Neill.
Ed Kranich.
Evan Woodbury.
This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you're unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have the minutes from the June 8th meeting, and then for new business, a preliminary site plan review from Jordan Bay Marina, Port Harbor Marine, and a sketch plan review from Stephen and Hilda Clark, followed by staff communications. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or state law. All persons speaking, including a representative of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone, state their name, address, and affiliation with the application. All persons speaking shall address the chair. Any conversations must be held in abeyance until after the board has formally adjourned. After board votes on the merits of each applicant, it will prepare a written notice of decision because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights. And also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court or as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain of you reserve your individual rights to file any such appeal, you must be certain the board records evidence of your appearance this evening. Okay. First item is the minutes of the June 8th meeting.
Now move to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Moved and second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Kevin? Minutes are accepted. Switching here.
Lose the audio.
Next up is the Jordan Bay Marina, Port Harbor Marine. The applicant has been before us before for a sketch plan review. We've conducted a site walk on June 2nd, and today is for a preliminary site plan review. I think the first thing we need to do is determine that the applicant is complete, and then open the discussion for the preliminary review. Will, I think it.
Bob, can I interrupt just 1 second? We can't see, the people on Zoom cannot see the studio. They need, the videographer needs to put that camera feed into Zoom so we can see it.
Yeah, we can barely hear you too. So what do we want to do? We want to put.
We don't, the Zoom people cannot see the studio.
Okay.
They need to route that feed into Zoom.
Route the studio feed into Zoom. I need to tell the guy behind the Oz that?
Yep,
Yeah.
1 second, working on it right now.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Kevin, is there a camera that shines this way onto these exhibits?
There is,
Okay.
so he should be able to pick that up by using that camera. It's to the left of the, if you're sitting in the front of the room, it's to the left up there. You can show down.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Are we all set?
It should be showing the display stands from the camera now.
So Kevin, are you seeing what you need to see?
No, we still do not see this feed from the studio.
So we,
Sorry, we're not seeing, everything looks good in the studio here. I'm not seeing how it's not showing up on your end.
what should you be seeing, Kevin? Like the board, the room?
We should see the room. There's a camera dedicated to, that feeds back into Zoom. We should see everybody in the room. Plus, you can change it to show any other camera feeding into Zoom. Let me, hold on, I'll get Eric to give you, is that Sean that's there?
No, Sean's not here.
No, this is,
No, I mean, who's the videographer tonight?
this is Graham.
Oh, Graham, okay, hold on a second. Let me, can you actually call Eric?
Yes,
No,
absolutely.
it's not.
Sorry, everybody. It
Okay.
looks good on
Give
my
him a
end.
call.
I'm not sure why it's not showing up on that side.
It's okay.
It's a heavy computer. Mike, is your neighbor that came to the board, it was in June, is he still
I'm sorry.
your neighbor?
Yeah, I haven't, apparently he didn't do any emails yet.
Oh, okay, so it's not,
So I don't know what he's doing. And the reason I know, I've talked to one person, but I haven't talked to anyone else. But I told him not to send me because I have to recuse myself. But I have a neighbor who has said that she hasn't gotten an email from, but I haven't talked to anyone else. So I'm thinking maybe he didn't send it out.
is it?
Although he did talk to a neighbor, I heard secondhand that it sounded like he still wants to go forward with it, so I don't know.
All right, sorry, everybody. Looks like it was just a setting that was not properly adjusted. You should see it up there.
We can see it now, yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your patience.
Okay. So back to the question,
Yes, so we reviewed the initial application. We actually sent the Sebago Technics, the design engineer, some comments back in late August. And I think they recently submitted a comment response, I think it was this morning. I quickly reviewed the comment response. I mean, I think the application is complete. It has everything in there. I mean, there are a few items that I
Right.
think that need to be addressed, and we obviously need to review the comment response in detail, but I would say that the application is complete
Okay.
from my perspective.
is there anyone else that's looking at it? Okay, so we need a motion to deem the application complete and open discussion for preliminary site plan review.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Kevin?
Aye.
Hey, Graham, could you turn the volume up for those that are zooming so I can't really hear Kevin.
Yes, Ken.
Thanks. Okay, then it's up to you, Will.
Yeah, so my recommendation would be to actually have the design engineer give a presentation first?
You don't want to go through this long memo?
I'd rather have them go through most of it.
All right.
If you want me to, I can go through it on my end, but
No, that's fine.
that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, Rob.
Good evening, Robert Sorley with Sebago Technics. I represent the owner of the Marina, and I am the project engineer for the application before you. We did resubmit this morning to all the comments that we've received from Will and Wayne Jones. Comments were pretty straightforward. There are a couple that what I want to do is go over a brief overview, and then we'll go through the comments. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just touch on ones that are informational for you, and also ones that we need direction on. And we'll take it from there. Once we will take note of whatever's said here, the intent is to make modifications, and then we'll resubmit whatever's changed so that it can come back to you as the board members, so that you have everything that Will and Wayne have been provided with. So the project in front of you tonight is an expansion of the Jordan Bay Marina proper marine site. Our client had purchased the property to the south of the marina, formerly owned by the Hartleys. The parcel that we're looking at developing is about 5.9 acres in size. Of that 5.9, we're really looking at development of that portion that fronts Roosevelt Trail back to basically the easement that Portland Pipeline has through the site. We really don't plan on anything other than stormwater after that portion of the site. As you had said in the very beginning, we had a sketch plan meeting with you all on May 11th. Subsequent to that, we did, I think we presented at that time that we were going to have a pre-application meeting with MDP. That followed a couple weeks after that. A good meeting that we had with them. June 2nd, we had the site walk. We had a fair amount of the neighbors show up for that. I thought that was a positive meeting, got some positive feedback. A couple weeks later, we resubmitted back to MDEP from the preliminary submittal that we gave them. They wanted some additional information from us to make the determination of whether our project was going to have to be reviewed under the site location of development standards, or whether it was just going to fall under main stormwater and NERPA rules for the wetland. And based upon that, they came back and said, you don't hit SLOTA, so the only thing that we'll be reviewing the project for is main stormwater law and Natural Resource Protection Act for the wetland. Since that time, we've done some major coordination with MDOT. We've met with them. We've also reached out to Portland Pipeline to make sure we had input from them and Portland Water District relative to the project. And tonight, we've also brought some elevations and renderings and whatnot of the building. We did not have that in our initial application, but we had commissioned an architect to start that process, and those have been provided as part of the resubmittal materials that you'll probably see within the week here. Beginning of August, we made our submittal, of course, to the town. We did have another neighborhood meeting on August 10th. That was for the submission that we had to make into Maine DEP. That was to go over with the neighbors the project once again to highlight the natural resource permits that we had to get and the stormwater permit that we were going to be getting for the site. Once again, we felt that was a good meeting with the neighbors. And then shortly thereafter, we made submissions to MDEP, MDOT, Army Corps and submittal into Portland Water District. Relative to the project, to go over again kind of our basis of the design on this, we pushed all our major activity over towards where our marina is, most to keep it away from our neighbors in Indian Point. Part of the process also, we show the use of one of the existing driveways that is there for the residents. We will be closing the one closer to the marina site and using the one further away from that. We've gone over that usage with DOT, and they were good with that. We placed our parking along the front of the building, similar to most of the buildings along the frontage, that front along 302 there. And from our standpoint, that's a better situation relative to security, that we don't have a parking lot behind the building where people can sneak in and not be seen from the roadway. As part of the building design, kind of try to highlight the front of the building that faces Roosevelt Trail. If you look at the drawings over to the left-hand side, they have the three-dimensional. You can see that there's kind of a portico or entry canopy that we're looking at on the front of the building, and just kind of give it a nice, pleasant, welcoming feeling there. And of course, once again, as we had talked about in our previous meetings, we're keeping that natural buffer along our southern border and to the easterly side to maintain a good buffer with our neighbors. We've also added street trees and buffering along in accent planning to highlight the building. The architecture that's proposed on this is kind of an open concept New England barn, if I could put it the best feature. You know, the building is substantial. It's 60 by 100, but we wanted to highlight certain features over there on it to kind of give it that New England feel. You know, we have the gabled ends on the end of the building. We have a substantial dormer that fronts along Roosevelt Trail. And that dormer also is part of a glass scheme for the building to provide a lot of natural light into the building. Also, we have, of course, the glass work on the front, but over on the north side towards where the marina is, you know, you have a kind of a big end of our building there. There'll be a good sized window there, once again, to break up that side of the building and also provide natural lighting into the building. Part of the final design will involve looking at energy efficient heating and cooling processes for the building, and conservation, eco-friendly design relative to fixtures. Lighting will be most likely LED lighting, solar electric, low electric use and whatnot. Landscaping, once again, we have the natural buffer along the southern side and eastern side. Along Roosevelt Trail, we've kind of framed that with street trees. I believe they're mostly maples, but we do have it broken up a little bit. You can see a series of greenish colored trees. Those will be conifers, so you're not looking at one static, continuous row of maples. You got some maples, some conifers and maples, and then around the front of the building, you'll have some accent landscaping out in the frontage there along Roosevelt Trail, as well as there'll be some juniper plantings on the slopes adjacent to the building and whatnot. So it'll nicely accent the building and whatnot. Lighting, once again, the building itself will have a lot of natural lighting inside. What we'll probably do on that canopy portico that overhangs is have some down lighting right there on the sidewalk that will be fronting the building. We have shown lighting on our site plan. We'll have full cutoff fixtures. They're all LED, very energy efficient. They match what we used on the project that we did 7 years ago? Well, 7 years ago, when we redid the front of the Marina site. We put some lighting in there, and it's that full cutoff LED lighting. And some lighting there on the building also, and probably some accent highlight lighting for the building. Nothing that upshines, of course. We don't want to have dark skies and whatnot, but stuff that comes down to the ground and whatnot. Signage, we're not really sure what we want to do. We know that we want to put some signage along the front. On the plans that have been resubmitted in to Will and Wayne, there is a monument sign, ground monument sign, adjacent to the front entrance. It'll be two-sided, so you'll see name from both sides. We'll also, as part of the comments from Wayne, put the addressing on there so that the emergency personnel can capture that when they're coming in and whatnot. So that's kind of an overview of, the highlights of the project. And now I'd like to go and touch on the comments. Comments were really straightforward, comprehensive and whatnot. I'm not going to mention all of them. I just want to go through and highlight some that are informational for you and some that we feel that we need some direction from you on. First of all, one of the things that we're going to be doing, and you'll see it on the floor plan that's close to the floor over on that side, on the lower floor of the building. We'll have a first floor and a lower floor that's down at the lower grade on the back. In the corner there, we're going to relocate the bathhouse facilities that we have in that little building over into that part of the building. It's a nice kind of like an atrium feature with the same thing that we have in that bathhouse right now. And if you remember, as part of our last approval for the dock expansion, we were to put a meter on that bathhouse building and meter that. We have been doing that most of the summer. I think it was late June, July, up through every week I get an email with a picture of the meter so that I can record that data. And we've used that data as to design the sanitary system that we propose for this project. And what we've done is we've conservatively taken that flow that we've got out of that, upped it up, I think it was 50% more, taken all the flow from the other building, put that on top of it, and whatever flows that we would have from this building into that new system in that septic tank that we'll be putting on this parcel. Now, right now, we probably will still continue using the other system. We'll just, once we build this building, the only thing that will go to that is the older building. Once we have a problem with that field, we'll stub out our system such that we can connect in the field that we're putting in is already designed to handle that. So.
Is the old bathhouse going away? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, the use of it as a bathhouse is going away. We don't know what we're going to do with it now. We may use it for storage or something like that, but it will not be a bathhouse facility. So that was one of the comments. I just wanted to highlight that for you all. As I stated earlier, we have reached out to Portland Pipeline. We had met with them before we started our engineering, showed them what we wanted to do. We actually had some parking shown over the pipeline behind where the boat rack behind the building is. They didn't like that parking. We've removed that parking. There was some other stuff they wished us to take care of. We did that. We resubmitted the same plan that went to you all to them. They came back with some minor comments on that, and we resubmitted, and we're waiting for their final reply on that. So we have coordinated with them on that. One of the items, we are filling a small portion of the floodplain, mainly we're discharging the one underdrained soil filter across the easement. We had to put a pipe in, so we had to do some filling to get over that pipe. Both those pipes we dug up, we test pitted them, get the elevation. We were hoping they were deeper. They weren't. We have to go over it. So we have to build up to go over it a bit. And then over where our other stormwater pond, there's a little bit of filling in over at that location too. We had mentioned that within our initial submittal letter. Will had come back and asked us to provide the exact volume that was in the filling. We actually did a more precise calculation than I did. The number actually went down. We have about 54 cubic yards near the underdrained soil filter number 1, which is more to the southern side, and then about 96 cubic yards on the other one. Originally we had said that the result of filling that, if you look at just the surface of water on Sebago Lake, the filling would be 0.00005 something. Well, it's now 0.00003 something. So it doesn't impact the flooding for the lake. Relative to our permitting, once again, we have submitted it to everybody. We do have responses from IF&W, Maine Historical Preservation, and the Conservation District, Conservation Commission, and there was no things flagged by them in their replies. Once again, Army Corps, MDEP, Stormwater, and NERPA, and MDOT opening permit for the water line that we get to put in, and the driveway entry permit is in the process right now. And we hope that some of that will be resolved by the next meeting, but we think DEP may be out a little longer than that. Comment number 10, part of what we submitted back, and hopefully this meets the needs for Wayne. We did the routings for the fire truck movements through the site. We did one to move through the loop driveway that we have, that we're putting in, one where the fire truck goes into the front parking lot of the building and it backs out and goes out, and then a couple more turning radius showing them going up into those drive aisles over where the boat storage is. So we hope those are sufficient for Will and Wayne to review. Down to comment 20, I kind of went over, I did a brief overview of the stuff relative, or information relative to the design guidelines. There's a much better write-up in the response. Our architect did a very good job, and then I added in some stuff on that. But I kind of went over the building and the concept and whatnot. And I can elaborate more on that if you have questions. Sneaking down to comment number 21. As part of the project, we've shown parking along the front of our building. We originally had 19 spots. We've lost one of those spots because we need to have a clear aisle into our fire department connection. By code, we need about 30. This use the use that we have already on the site, we know we don't utilize that much parking in front of the building. And we kind of addressed that in our narrative. Will suggested that that might be handled by the board by a waiver condition. We stated that if there's a problem with it, number of parking, then we will provide additional parking over where the boats park for our employees. But we feel that the 18 spaces that we got on there are sufficient for the board or for the site, and would like to have direction from you all on that, if how you want to handle that. Done a comment number 24. We incorrectly labeled the boat rack that we're putting on site as 45 feet high. It's only 35 feet high, and you can kind of see that it's tucked in behind the building. We used the building and also the landscaping, try to buffer that from looking from Route 1 or I'm thinking I'm in Florida again. Everything's Route 1 in Florida. But Roosevelt Trail, please. Road 302. So, skipping down to number 31, the ordinance requires 100 square feet of intermediate landscape island in parking lots for buildings greater than 5,000 square feet. Or greater than 5,000 square feet. Once again, the parking that we've supplied is a little over half of that. We've tried to offset that by, we have a green expanse area to the south of that. And don't know whether, the green area that we provided in the landscaping we provided in that general area is sufficient to cover that, or do we need to carve out another island in the middle of the parking there? So, some direction on the board for that. Next comment, it was requested that we provide a photometrics plan. Lighting was put on the site plan relative to what we felt would be adequate for security purposes. Really, we don't have a big nighttime use here that happens when you need lighting. Most of our activity, of course, is in the spring, summer, very early fall, and to have a really lit up parking lot doesn't make a lot of sense. We did have photometrics done on the lighting that we provided. We did provide a little bit more lighting on the front of the building and on the rear of the building as part of their review. It doesn't meet the 3.0 foot candles per whatever it is for the front parking and whatnot. But once again, we're looking for direction from you all, whether do we need to light this up like a mall, or is the lighting that we provided for security measures and highlighting measures sufficient or significant for the site?
You're not lighting the boat storage area?
No. The only, really, once again, around the building in that area to make sure that, we don't get people with, ill intent coming onto the site and doing stuff and whatnot, and providing enough where if in an emergency, somebody has enough lighting to get through the site and deal with. what we need to have dealt with. And the last comment is relative to the clearing relative to adjacent to wetlands. One of the things that we tried to do was concentrate our stormwater and our green area and our treatment towards the wetland side, and that we have no direct runoff that leaves the site and goes directly into the wetland. Most of the area through that 100 feet, you know, it's a lot of it's impacted easement area, which is 60 foot wide because of the Portland pipeline easement. But after that, it's, you know, the stormwater area that we provided, which is there to provide the water quality treatment to go into the pond or to discharge into the wetlands and whatnot. And if I could walk over there just to point out something.
All right, you got to take the microphone with you. There's a, well, that one,
Is there one underneath there?
is there,
Rob?
I could run one out. Hold on one second.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Rather than comment once again, here is the easement that goes through the site here. We have wetlands immediately abutting that. Some are actually up into that, but you know, that's already impacted. And what we've done is we've cut green space essentially through most of this, just a little bit of driveway in this area. But if you were to take from the wetland and go 100 feet, you're going through this area right here. And, you know, as part of your ordinance, it's, you know, the big thing is to protect the wetland and provide water quality. And we feel that we do that by, you know, keeping any direct runoff from going into the wetlands and providing the treatment through our stormwater system. In fact, this stormwater system here, although we have pervious type uses over here, by DEP, we have to count that all as impervious. So we've designed that as being totally impervious. And just to highlight, you'll see a different green color here along the plans. That's going to be planted with a conservation mix versus a grass. Of course, the pipeline comes in every 2 years or so and they mow through there and whatnot. But we're going to put back conservation bordering along there. The grass area will mainly be, as you see in the green. This is our pavement system for the project, including the loop access for the fire trucks. These roadways over here will be compacted base rock. This will be just an open crushed rock, which is similar to what we use across the street, more pervious and whatnot. And then this will be all grassed over in this area.
Rob, while you're up there, would you give us the water flow, right? Where the water is going?
Okay. All of this water here slopes down this way. There's a kind of a swale area here that picks up what little gets over here, and that all gets into the underdrained soil filter here. It will provide treatment, it provides stormwater pre versus post, and it will discharge across the pipeline easement. We have an outfall pipe that comes across and outfalls on the far side. This part of the site here will drain to the back. The pavement comes around, and then this just kind of sheet flows off. We'll probably have roof drains on the building to downspout it onto the pavement, and that just comes across the green area and will go into this underdrained soil filter for treatment, stormwater attenuation, and it will discharge off here into the buffer area adjacent to the wetlands. And
Can you also describe the DOT culvert that comes under the road that was?
oh yeah. There's a DOT culvert that comes over here. We found that when we were out poking around. I went back out to the site to look after we had done our initial survey. We saw this on a plan, but we didn't see it in the field. So my surveyors went out and dug it up, and it was a couple feet under, well, not a couple feet, a couple inches underground. So it was not operating at all. We met with DOT on the driveways and on that drainage, and what we're going to do is regrade that. We're going to put some stone there so that it doesn't get all monkeyed in again, and that will drain off into their swale that goes along Route 302 and Roosevelt Trail. And as part of looking at that, we looked at the downstream pipe on that to make sure that that would not be a problem, and have demonstrated that it's hydraulically sufficient for any flows. We think most of this flow goes that way anyways. There's a kind of a slight depression here. Some of it might fill up and had been meandering through the property, but we believe most of it was going that way. To make sure that the pipe could handle all of it, we looked at the drainage that came through that, being very conservative. We took into account all the area up here that currently comes over here, which probably backs up here and then goes across this property right now.
So Rob, if we look at the existing conditions,
Yep.
the water now, the stormwater that comes out of the treatment and is going into the buffer, that water is eventually going to leave the property.
Yeah, it's going to go back to the wetland where it goes. Everything right now drains this way.
Right, but isn't the bottom there Indian Point?
No, there's a wetland right here, and
Right.
it goes down and then down into the lake. That's a historical flow.
Okay,
It doesn't go directly into Indian Point.
okay,
This wetland complex goes and drains, and then that goes down into the lake.
okay. So the houses that's shown here on this existing water flow.
They
this
drain to the
existing
back to that wetland also,
water- Yeah,
and that flows around and out this way.
okay. Are there, I probably should know this, are there calculations that show the increased amount of water runoff that's going to occur over the impervious area, as
Yeah,
opposed to what's happening
Yeah,
now?
we've done pre versus post based upon our development that shows what's going to happen. We attenuate that as part of our stormwater design.
And now we know that the wetland area is not going to be overrun with the additional water?
It shouldn't be, no.
Do we know that, or just we're hoping?
Well, the underdrained soil filters are also detention, they provide a certain amount of detention, so they've basically met their pre versus
Yeah.
post
What happens
before it
is,
discharges to the wetland.
Okay, thanks, okay,
you got it?
got it? I'm
Okay.
good.
Just think of it as a bowl with a little hole in the
Yep.
bottom. The water gets poured in there, and you're waiting for it to all leak out. So, I think those are the only things that I wanted to cover. The other comments relative to the, from Wayne, I think I addressed all those. A lot of them were notes on the plans or showing stuff on the plans. He probably hasn't fully reviewed them, but I think we've addressed everything there, and I don't have any concerns on them. I think we'll work out whatever little things are left. And if there's anything that I didn't touch on in the comments that you guys have read and you want to address, I can address that now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Rob basically addressed all of the ones that I had circled as well in terms of the ones that I thought he should touch on, so I think we're on the same page there. I guess a couple things just to touch on a couple of them. Obviously, we still need time to review a lot of these comments that we just received, so I can't address all of them in terms of what we received this morning, but I guess one that I wanted to touch on, so Rob mentioned the parking. I believe he said they now have 18 spaces. Ordinance, if you calculated based on the ordinance requirements, would be around 30. So our comment basically suggested potentially a waiver for that. I think Sebago is suggesting more of maybe a condition or something like that would basically say, if we determine that it doesn't work, that they would build additional spaces in the future or something to that effect, or provide additional spaces.
Whatever the desire of the board,
Yeah.
we feel that we have enough parking based upon the use.
So to me, I guess, given that it's a relatively significant reduction from what the code, and I'm not saying, I think I agree with him in terms of, it probably is a reasonable number of parking spaces for what they require there, but it felt to me that a waiver might be a better way to handle that versus some other way. So the other one that we talked about, or Rob mentioned, was regarding the landscaping and the landscaped island requirement for parking. So my thought, and again, this is really for the board to decide on, but given the landscaped green island kind of on the south side of the end of the parking lot, and then the green strip on the north side in between the end of the parking lot and the existing access drive, to me, I think you could make some sort of a case that those meet the definition of the internal island to that parking lot. So I guess that was kind of my thought there, but.
The island has come up a number of times.
It really would only apply to a parking lot that had multiple bays, or if you had a long parking lot, you might consider adding like a bump out island in the middle of it that you might landscape or something. But this is such a relatively small parking lot, it really doesn't make sense to have the internal island.
Was it a safety issue that it originally came up under?
Might be, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if Jim knows.
Jim, do you know why remember with those islands, why they came up?
Internal islands on
For
your
parking?
parking lot.
Yeah, originally that was in the commercial zone, and in lieu of moving existing parking lots back to conform, we allowed existing lots to be up front. In lieu of the strip, we made them put islands in there to compensate for any buffers we may have lost in the front yard.
But then when we were going through the parking lot out on the Cape,
Yep.
that islands came up there too.
Right, that was a little bit different. That was because it was in the shoreland zone, and we limited parking lots to, I think, 50 car pods or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And it was, again, to provide more buffers in the shoreland zone.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Maybe could satisfy that by putting in a few additional plantings at the north end of the parking lot, where you have the little curves.
We have a significant, are you looking at the landscaping plan right now?
Yeah,
Okay, if you feel, we can look at putting more in there.
yeah, it's not much, but just
Yeah,
a token thing to,
we can do that.
Yeah, it looks like you've got some pretty low-lying junipers in there right now.
Mhm.
Rob, you might be able to add a couple.
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, yeah, you're right, I see it, I was on the wrong plan, I was on the site plan. Yeah, you already do have them in there, so.
Okay.
And I guess the other one that probably warrants some discussion is the, that 100-foot cleared opening within 100 feet of a wetland. The ordinance requires that to be limited to 250 square feet, which Rob kind of described and, indicated that there's that pipeline strip that basically goes through there that's already impacted, number one. So it's kind of a unique situation here, I guess, with this development in terms of having that strip kind of right in there that kind of already has impacted that 250 square foot opening, if you will.
Okay.
So I think those were the ones that I had highlighted based on reviewing their response that I received. So
Probably the best way would be to ask for a waiver on those two items.
I think at least on the parking space count, I think would be a waiver, I guess, relative to the shoreland
Okay.
ordinance one.
I don't think,
I'm not
can
sure
we
you
waiver that?
I'm not sure you can.
I don't think you guys can waive that one.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Where'd that one come from?
Alex probably.
Oh, Alex?
I do have a question about that, because there are two kinds of wetlands. There's a forested wetland and there's a freshwater wetland. And I assume you're measuring from the upper edge of a freshwater wetland, not the forested wetland, because in the ordinance it says, a forested wetland shall not be considered to be a wetland for the purpose of these shoreline zoning ordinance provisions.
Well, I'm measuring from the forested. That's where I'm taking my 100 feet from. And what I was saying, to find that we meet the intent of the code because we are protecting it. We provide a buffer against it. There's no direct discharge to it, and we provide additional water quality for the water that goes into it.
And it's essentially already cleared, is what you're making the case that it's essentially already
We
cleared.
can't do anything about that easement. We can't put trees back there. And
So, Will, in your opinion, based on what's just been described, there's not much harm regarding comment 34, leaving it?
Well, I guess, given that response was just received this morning, I would tend to maybe put that off until the next meeting, so we can actually think about it a little bit, rather than make a spot
That's good.
decision.
That sounds good.
So,
Questions? Laura?
Yeah, I got several. On the south side of the property that abuts Indian Point, about how much buffer area is there, and are there some, it seems like on the sidewalk there were going to be some pine trees that were going to be left, or at least some. I'm just curious about what that distance is.
From our site walk, if you remember, we kind of came over in this area. There's kind of a mound over in this area. I think that's their septic system or whatnot. And just about from that area going north, we're going to maintain a minimum 15 feet from the property line on our side. Before we even clear, we'll go out there and we'll stake the line for the natural buffer and protect all the trees within that. Now, from that point, more eastward, that goes to 30 feet. And basically, there's still this open area that nothing is in. And I can't remember the gentleman. We met the gentleman who lives here. But when you get to that residence there, we're actually preserving more area. It really didn't make sense to go down into that to try to get land for use. And plus knowing that our neighbors and whatnot, we wanted to provide a little bit more buffering there. And that's kind of the idea why we left this big triangle. We have the 30 feet and then 15 feet up here where they store their boats and where that septic system is.
and that split between the 15 and the 30 is your zone line, basically, so.
All right, great, thanks. And then comment number 21 regarding lighting. I happen to know that people on the lake are really concerned about night light pollution, so all the lights are going to be shielded, so it's just going to be, you won't be able to see the actual light, it'll just be...
There'll be full cutoff LEDs. The lights that are over here, the nearest one to the lake will be this one. It should, you probably can't even see it from the lake anyway, but all of these, of course, would be behind the tree cover that's going to remain. And they're, once again, they're all directly down LEDs.
Okay, and same on the front side, they're going to be shielded, so they won't bother any neighbors on the other side. Okay, good.
Yeah, and I had mentioned we had one in the front here before. We now show two there and two in the back. There'll probably be some different configuration in the final because of the nice architecture that they've come up with. Yes, everything will be shielded down.
Actually, that was comment 32. Regarding comment 21 about parking, do we know what the ordinance requires? In other words, 3,200 square feet,
30.
so how many parking
30.
spaces? 30. So we're going from 30 to, we're proposed to go from 30 to 19.
18.
18.
18, okay.
So, Jim just pointed out Article 9, this is Article 9C4, which is off-street parking. Says, in all districts, the reviewing authority may allow a reduction in the number of spaces actually constructed, provided the required number of spaces could be constructed on the property while meeting all other space requirements of that district and all applicable standards, including but not limited to stormwater quality, phosphorus control. So it basically says you could allow a reduction, I'm assuming without a waiver, if they could show that they could construct the additional 12 spaces, I guess, or they could provide those elsewhere, and you could do that without a waiver. To me, if they can't, or they don't want to provide that space, to me, that would justify the need for a waiver.
Okay.
And then last question I have, the boats, by the way, I think the building's really, really nice. The boats won't be visible from 302 because the building's going to shield them all?
Oh, the boat rack, yeah. Yeah, you can see in the perspective here how high the boat rack is relative to the, we deliberately made the peak of the building above it to shield as much as we could. And once again, over on this side, we have some additional larger trees, something bovia or something. They get big.
Rob,
So-
your plan view down there actually shows that pretty well in terms of how high the boat rack is relative to
Oh,
the
yeah.
peak of the building. It's pretty well hidden
And
behind.
we'll get full copies of this next week.
Thanks.
Do you have any concerns about the Portland pipeline allowing you to run a pipe across their easement?
No, because we dug it up, we test pitted it, we actually submitted a plan to them that showed it going over, showed the separation. The only note they came back on that was they wanted to know the elevation of the other pipe that we didn't give the inverts on, or the top of. It was actually lower, so we only gave so I'm assuming that based upon the fact that they only wanted to know the information on that they're not gonna have a problem.
Very good. I'm good.
I'm good.
You're good?
Bob,
Okay.
did
Yep.
you want to see if Wayne wanted to weigh in at all?
Sure. Wayne?
Yes.
Hey, Wayne, wow, before we start, your memos have gotten, really, really good lately. They're easy to read, very thorough, lots of references, greatly appreciated.
You're very welcome. I'm learning as I go. How's that, Bob? So, I haven't had a lot of time to look at today's submission, but just some quick items that I did see that hadn't been addressed from my memo was the fire flow calculation for the main coming across the street, which is going to be really important with the potential fire load that we could have with this project. So knowing what that new system would be able to flow is really important. And then from looking at it real quick, there's probably some additional fire lane signs that we would need to have put in. And then the third thing is, again, with that fire loading and the boat storage being so close to the building, you know, we're concerned about the fire in the racks potentially causing problems for the building, because those boat fires, if anybody's seen those Marina fires that have happened recently, they're pretty hot and intense fires. So have a little concern there, but we can work with Rob to try to address that issue.
Okay? Okay, Rob? Questions on that?
We thought the comments were straightforward, and we'll deal with Wayne on those.
Okay.
Yep.
So Mike, who isn't here, also was concerned about the lighting. So I think, and you've got questions on the lighting, I think most of us would agree that we don't want lots of lighting. Is that pretty much, we were in agreement there? So I think your question as to whether or not you can go with less lighting would be much preferred as over more lighting.
And we try to highlight where the intersecting ways are, although we don't see a lot of conflicting things happening at night, but yeah.
Mike, what is the proposed building's use again? What are you using it for?
If you look at this floor plan right here, this is the upper level here, and they basically want to bring boats in here and display them. You can see this big open area is a lot for boat storage or boat display, and then we have some minor amount of offices on the back side here. And then on the lower floor, that one corner of the building here, this is where we're going to relocate the bathhouse facilities to. Got a little atrium. And then this way over under this part, we'll have garage doors, and we'll be able to bring boats in to do some service work on them in here.
Okay, so you're going to have office spaces, you'll have maintenance, and then you're also going to have a showroom. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I'm asking because of the parking. So, I mean, we've got 18 spots. You're going to occupy how many of those with your staff?
The staff will probably park in the back of the site. We're not going to allow.
Yeah, please.
It's not really.
You just have to state your name for the record.
Mike Susi, Port Harbor Marine. It's not really adding anybody. I mean, we might add one salesperson. We're just taking people from the other building and moving them over to that building.
Okay.
Same rigor, you know, with basically taking the sales department and moving it to that new building.
So that where they park now, they can continue to park?
They can. Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, like the people that come in, I look at it, we're adding 18 more spaces than what we have now.
Customer spaces.
Customer spaces, that's right.
Okay.
Based on the addition of the new dock system and more boats and that sort of thing, did you have any trouble at all with parking?
We did.
So over the summer, we didn't have any?
We actually installed, as part of our condition for the dock approval, we put a camera out there that we record continuously, and we went through all of that film from last year, and we submitted a report. I think in September, I sent it to Alex. We had no problems at all last year. No problems this year again, so.
Mike, who's not here, was wondering about the visibility of the storage, the boat storage racks to, I guess it would be to the southern part of the property, where we, where the buffering is thinned out. And so his question was, where is your landscaping? Is it,
Southern end would be here, so.
yeah,
From
so,
Indian Point.
from Indian Point. Would it be possible to add, 1 or 2 trees in that landscape spot to buffer it?
Well, we have a 30-foot wide buffer at that point.
Yep.
How long is this room right now? This is probably 35? That's how wide your buffer is going to be.
Those are pretty mature trees that were in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In addition, we've added a couple other trees. You can see the bigger green ones there.
And Rob, if my eyes were better, I probably could read and it would tell me what size trees these are. But since I can't, what size trees are they?
Big.
2-inch caliper.
2-inch.
What is Rob, can you tell us what a Zelkova serrata is?
The Z trees.
ZS trees.
Yeah.
What's a Zelkova serrata? Like,
It's a very large tree.
but it's like a maple, or what is it?
Bigger than the maple. If you see the size of the tree,
Those are to scale?
those are to scale. The trees on the front, the maples are to scale, the conifers are to scale, and those, I'm
Okay.
gonna call them Z trees,
All right.
are to scale.
So when you said 2 inches though, what were you?
That's 2-inch caliper tree is the base.
When
Trunk
they're
tree,
initially
which is not-
planted, they'll be a 2 to 3 inch caliper tree,
Right,
but they'll grow and,
obviously.
yeah,
Right. But not next season or the season after.
yeah. We're not gonna be able to put a 30-foot tree in there.
No, understood. I just wanted to know.
Yeah.
So this being a marina use, in the wintertime, is that building going to be lit at night?
Still be lit.
It'd still be lit, yeah, security purposes.
Okay, then do we need to worry about putting in more evergreen type trees to block the lighting rather than maples? Since you're
From the
going to,
roadway?
well, wherever we're worried about
Once again,
visibility of the building and light.
the lighting is shining down. It's pointing down, going down. And if you look at the photometrics, you'll see that the light doesn't spill very far to the south because we don't have any lighting over there at all. And then we have that 30-foot wide buffer of vegetation through there.
The other side of 302 has street lights along the whole thing.
Right, yeah. Okay.
So my last question is only because I've never seen this, but the septic tank or your septic field is going to be under the paved area?
Correct.
Is that normal?
You can do it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
What we do is we do concrete chambers that are structurally designed for H20 loading. In fact, one of the
not
comments
uncommon.
was from
Uncommon?
Will,
I've just
was,
never seen it.
Yeah.
That's okay.
yeah. In fact, yeah,
All right. So
I typically don't like to put them there, but I did in this case.
All right. So some of your questions, parking island. I think we're okay with that. Is that right?
Yeah.
Kevin, I'm sorry, Kevin. I always forget you're out there. You have questions, Kevin?
No, just listening, especially the H20 underneath the parking area, something similar that I'm having to do in my lot.
So your question on the parking islands, I think the board's pretty happy with what you've got right now without additional islands, right? Is that pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay. Parking spaces, I guess that's up to you, Rob. If you can come back and if you want a waiver, you'd have to bring a written request for the waiver.
Okay.
If you want to show the other parking spots that you would build, if in fact you needed it, then we wouldn't need a waiver and that would be fine.
Is the board okay with me requesting a waiver?
Do you want to give them a thumbs up or thumbs down? Or do you-
Because that's what
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
It sounds like since we don't have any parking problem at all, that we haven't had, I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so I would
Sounds
just,
reasonable to me also.
okay,
Big empty
So I would
parking
think, yeah.
lots are not attractive anyway.
you can safely assume, no guarantees, but you can
I
safely assume.
I understand, not until we vote.
Let's see, I'm sorry, I do have one question. How are the boats into the boat storage, how are they getting in there? Who's parking them?
Staff,
Staff's parking, okay.
staff only,
Only staff?
always staff. If somebody were to want to take a boat off-site, they would pull it to the front, and the client would take it from there.
Okay, so
They
you
would
see,
not be parking the boats or retrieving boats.
so you see no evening activity in that area?
I can't say there won't be any activity,
Right.
but if it is, it's going to be our staff.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's,
I would see very little activity over there.
okay. All right, lighting, boat parking's done. I think we've answered your questions that you raised. Are you correct, or you?
Are you good with my thing on the wetland? Because,
I think we are, we just don't know how to address it.
okay,
So,
we're going to talk about it. Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
so we're kind of tabled that to our next time.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm good.
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, so this is preliminary, so we can either vote for preliminary approval, or we could wait, table and continue to wait.
Next time would be a public hearing, too.
Right. Next time, we'll do the public hearing. And then the following, we would anticipate the application to come in for final approval.
Would it be better to wait till next week for the preliminary approval, or next month for the preliminary approval then?
To hear the comments from,
Yeah, we have information coming for the permits.
If you want to look
right,
at
from the state.
everything I submitted in, then
yeah, I don't, I agree with you. I don't think it would delay you guys at
No.
all for a final vote.
no, I don't think so.
So you're all right with that?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys are okay? Kevin? Good? Can't hear you, but you look like you
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, so then we would, we'll schedule, Sandy, can we get the public hearing done next meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay. So next meeting, we'll do the public hearing. And then after that, whenever you want to get back on the agenda, we could do that.
That's good.
Okay, so we need a motion to table, table report, that's what we're calling it, the major site, the Jordan Bay Marina expansion.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Done.
What's the date of that meeting? Sandy?
Second Wednesday of
October.
October.
October 12th.
Oh, crap. Sorry.
That wasn't a
October
good
12th.
response.
Vacation.
Keep it on there.
All right, your birthday or something?
Easier.
Oh, you're really?
I'll come with my crutches. Thank you all.
Are you having it that day?
The day before.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, you we all
Do
healed.
it on Zoom, Rob.
That's it.
Yeah, you know, you probably could, Rob.
Do it on Zoom.
Thank you once again.
Good with me?
Yep, thank you, Will. Hey, Rod, Zoom would not be a problem for you. I mean, if you're just up, I mean, we'll have questions for you, obviously.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be presenting any new information. You'll just be there as a resource to answer questions.
Probably a good idea to get these sheets in for that meeting though, like for the public
Yes.
hearing.
Oh, yeah.
You could have a client bring
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a little-
Yeah, so don't feel like, it would not be, I don't think it would be an inconvenience to the board. I think, yeah.
Great.
You want to keep your leg up.
Yeah.
Someone whose knees hurts, I could tell you,
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Dedication.
I came.
You charge extra for that when you come injured?
Of course I did.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you.
So next up is our sketch plan review. Stephen and Hilda Clark.
I saw all the easels left. Could I use a chair?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Sorry about that. If I don't take it back, I'll get in trouble.
I thought I could rent one, but I guess I have 6 in my office.
We do have one hanging around here somewhere, I think, but that's all right. That'll work.
If that's good too.
Yeah, that's fine.
You gonna start it?
Jim, do you want to start us off? Just
Sure. This is a 4-lot subdivision being proposed with a 5th technically lot being for retained land in the rear. This is called Woodstone Minor Subdivision located on Raymond Cape. Tax map 4 lot 30. It is in the LRR2 district because it's on Raymond Cape. It meets the shoreland zoning provisions. They're proposing, like I mentioned, a 4-lot subdivision with a small private way. I did have some comments, but I think what I'll do is defer to the applicant to give his presentation, then we can come back and discuss it. That's okay.
perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Bill Thompson with BH2M Engineers, project manager, and Steve Clark is here tonight with me. This is Raymond Cape Road, about a 37-acre parcel, minor subdivision, 4 lots. Lot 1 on the front corner here was divided out, first division out for a family member just in March. Steve purchased the entire 37 acres also back in early 2022. We're in the 3-acre zone, LRR2, as was stated. It's a wooded site, and like I said, the first lot divided out a permit, and there's a house under construction on that lot for a family member. Proposed road coming in about 900 feet long. We've done some little geometry here to minimize the impacts to, there's a forested wetland coming down through here. Wetlands have been mapped, boundary line survey done, LiDAR topo on the entire site, and then hand topo for the road, which we have started a design. Each lot will be a private septic system, drilled well. Soil tests have been done for this lot and for one other lot, and the others will be done obviously before we move any further. It will be a private way with a travel way and the 3-foot shoulders. We'll have a 22-foot wide area. We did get a comment back from Fire and Rescue. Sprinkler systems will be part of the development. There will be a road association to manage from what is shown here for 4 lots. Sebago Tech has a memo with just bringing us forward as we move toward a preliminary with the things that the ordinance asks for, which we are very familiar with. Stormwater design will be a requirement of it. The road coming in off Raymond Cape Road, we come off at the slope, the grade rather, coming off Raymond Cape, and the fire chief mentioned in the memo that maximum grade of 10%. Well, the ordinance says 12, and we've designed it really works at 12 without getting into some major construction. So we'd like to have a clarification on that. If the ordinance allows 12%, we'd hope that our design can continue with that grade. So the balance of the land is nothing proposed for it. I guess one question I would have for the board, this first lot was the first division out, and it's a family member. Does it count as one of the 4 lots for the subdivision, or is it exempt and we only have 3 lots? And I guess that's a question for the definition of subdivision and how the Raymond board would rule on something like that. So again, we know what your program requires for preliminary design. We'll finish up our road design, stormwater, get the test pits done for the other lots, and come back with with a more complete plan for a preliminary review. So,
Okay, thanks, Bill.
okay, thanks.
Jim, wouldn't the way it's drawn, the remaining land be Lot 5?
It could be Lot 5. It all depends. Alex and I have had this conversation. It depends on what's going to happen with that land. If the land is going to remain in open space, then we probably wouldn't require it to be a Lot 5. If it's going to be something that could be potentially developed in the future, then we could look at it. And that would make a difference on the road slope, because the road slope is based on, he is correct, if it's 4 or less lots, we allow 12%. If it's 5 or more, then we go to 10%. So it does have an impact on how we look at the road, as well as how we look at the development.
But a 4-lot subdivision, we can't do open space on.
Correct.
Right? So
Right.
that land would have to be put into some sort of conservation program?
Yeah, and getting into my comments, one of the concerns I had too was we don't even know, I'm guessing, Bill, that there's a fair amount of wetlands on that rear piece. I know they didn't evaluate it, but
They
I
haven't
think,
evaluated, but
There's a decent amount, yeah.
yeah, I think it would be, they might be able to get something in the front, right where the hammerhead is, but I'm not sure. And that was part of the discussion we wanted to have tonight,
Okay.
is how the board felt about that.
So I guess that would be one question going forward. we
sure,
would
of
have.
how we're gonna move forward. But
Right.
with Lot 1 has its frontage off Raymond Cape Road, so it's not required for the private way. We are bringing a driveway off it because it just makes more sense. So if that lot was exempt, then do we only have 3 plus the back lot, which could be Lot 4? Is
That lot, that back lot, or sorry, the front lot is not exempt. That's part of the subdivision.
Right,
Even
because
Or it will
it's
have to
5
be.
years.
Okay,
Those are 5 years.
Yes,
right.
5 years. If it was 5 years old, we'd exempt it, but it's not.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, so you're gonna have to have you're gonna have to address that remaining land. As you've got it drawn right now, I don't speak for the board, but in my opinion, it's lot number 5.
It looks like a lot.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And if it was a lot, then at 5 lots, you can look at it for open space development.
Right.
So you could reduce lot sizes and do things like that.
Mhm.
The other thing too would be, as I mentioned before, if the board looks at it as 5 lots, then it does change the requirement for the road slope. So you may, I know it works well for 12%, but you may want to look at it at 10%. Just from the standpoint, it gives you some flexibility if you decide you want to develop that remaining land in the rear.
Yep.
Down the road.
Yeah, now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to do
Sure.
it, because you don't want to make a 2% grade change after everybody's in and built.
No. Okay, I appreciate those comments. Did you have anything, Steve?
I don't think so. I don't really have any future plans as far as development beyond the 4 lots that are existing right now. The only thing was with that remaining land, I thought of it as one big buildable lot in the future for a personal home or a family member. But other than that,
And that's fine, and if it is, again, it just opens up another avenue to review if you decide to do that.
Right.
I mean, the board could accept this as a conventional subdivision. If it's something that you potentially could look at, the board could say, we want to look at it to see what a cluster development would look like. It's kind of a little bit of your preference, but it's also the board may want to see what that reduction lot sizes could do for the land.
right, which we always do, so.
And the other question is always too, connectivity to other properties. Typically when we do cluster, we definitely look at that, and even when we do conventional, again, we get into this, we've had this conversation many times, private versus public. This is being proposed as a private way, so the connectivity always becomes a challenge. But we still try to provide at least the right-of-way connection for possibility.
Right, oh yeah, yep.
The house that's currently under construction, is that in the southwest corner of
Is
the,
it in the front right corner if you're looking at the property?
right there?
The Sarah Clark.
There's an existing house here that was never part of this purchase.
Yeah,
That's
so
done in 2000.
The goal.
is the driveway gonna, or the roadway going to be where the driveway currently is built for that first house? Is that where the road goes in, or will there be?
The road's gonna go in and the driveway will be off it, up the road a couple hundred feet.
about 250 feet up, it turns into that lot.
And Boundary
On the
line
right
of that
side.
lot will be the edge of the right of way.
So so what you're asking is lot 1, or are you asking about the Gone lot?
I can't see.
The Gone lot is the one to the north, the Sarah Clark.
The southwest lot is.
The southwest lot is the family lot, what
Yeah.
they labeled
Okay.
as lot 1.
And right now, he's already constructed a driveway, or is that a
Yeah,
portion
it's
of the
framed out,
road?
the
that
house is framed, it's under the rough end stage right now.
Yeah, and the driveway that accesses that house right now, that's gonna be the road? That's where the road is?
That's correct.
That's all.
What's cut in there, it will be the road and also the driveway, and then they'll turn to come into this
Right,
lot.
then,
Okay.
so it'll go in there, the new driveway will come off that new right-of-way about 200 feet is what we're saying. So they'll basically come in either the back or the side of
So
it.
it will not come out onto Raymond Cape Road, other than the
So you'll
road.
have one curb
Okay.
cut. You'll still only have one curb cut on Raymond Cape Road.
Jim, just curious, where is this? Do you know where this lies in relation to the last?
Yeah, you're right next door.
Right. Okay.
Brandon Chase is the lot next door.
Yeah. Okay.
And then on the end is another subdivision. James Cummings was Bridle Path? Is that what that was at one point?
I think you're right.
They've
Yeah.
never built that. I think that, Alex, refresh me, is that one technically expired?
Yes, that subdivision is no more.
Okay. And then you got Sideshow Golf Course. It's the back end of their development where they were doing the disc golf course.
Oh, it's that close.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That disc golf course is a long lot, though. It comes off Murray Drive.
The next road to the south, the Painted Turtle Road, that's all built up to subgrade.
That's existing.
Is that an existing?
That's existing. That was
Yep.
built in 2008, I think, or
They
2006.
never built anything in there.
I actually am getting ready to pull a permit down because we own that parcel down there. We just purchased it. The
Okay,
4 lot
yeah.
subdivision.
There's 4 lots in there, yep.
Okay, yeah, I saw the sign, that's why I was a little confused about the driveway versus
okay.
that road.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Is that a right-of-way that comes off Eastern Painted Turtle that comes into your remaining lot? Is that a right-of-way or is that access?
Say that one again, Jim, sorry.
78 Cape Road has a right-of-way off of Painted Turtle down to the water.
Okay. But it looks like there's a
another
strip of-
right of way going north.
Yeah, going northeast. Does that
Yeah.
come off of Painted Turtle, go into your remaining land, or is that something
Oh,
else?
that's part of the subdivision, that goes around the perimeter of the end of it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of the common space for lots 1, 2, 3, and 4, just to access that open space on the Painted Turtle side.
Okay. Oh, okay, I see it now.
Oh,
And that gives them access down to the water, the back lots.
And you acquired that as well?
Yeah.
But that's an approved subdivision.
Yeah.
Yes.
The interesting part would be, would you be giving your subdivision access rights to the water as well?
No,
Okay.
totally separate. Gonna keep them separate.
Yeah, it would be a very nice loop.
Eastern Painted would have to come in for an amendment, but to your point.
Mm-hmm. It's internally, what we always look at, and what Jim was Jim was saying is that we're constantly looking to avoid ins and outs, because, basically because of cost.
Right.
It increases the sanitation cost, it increases all those costs.
We're constantly looking for loops.
Yeah, so we're constantly looking for a loop
Sure, right.
to minimize those costs. Or set up the subdivision so that in the future, a loop makes sense so that the right-of-way is already there.
Could be available.
Right,
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
okay, that would be appreciated.
But to Bill's point, the biggest thing is we're trying to set up for the future here. We need to see passing test pits. As I mentioned, they've only done wetlands on the front half of this. They haven't really looked at the remaining piece. The wetlands inventory only looked at the front half where they're developing now, but they haven't looked in the rear. So again, if they have expectations of building on that remaining land, we'd have to see the wetlands. And I think we know from the properties around there, there's been evidence of vernal pools.
Right.
So
if it becomes lot number 5,
yep.
we would need all that.
we would need all that, correct?
If it's somehow figured out to go into conservation, we would not need all that.
I would guess that, it'd be good to know where the limits of those things were so they don't impact lots 4 and 3.
Right.
I'm guessing based on the scale that they won't on that parcel, but it would be handy to know how close they do get. To your point, if that's just going to remain open space and not be developed in the future, then we probably could avoid it.
Yeah.
If there's any expectation whether in the future they want to do a lot in there, they'd have to show it to us. If they don't approve it now, we would most likely have a note on there that any further development would have to come back to the planning board. So
And
the
then
question
everything
is,
would change.
and the only thing that really changes between major and minor is a little bit of the review, and some things are optional that aren't in major, like soils and septic systems, things like that. But you're going to do those things anyway. To me, if you have any expectation of building on that, I would say do it now. Save yourself the hassle and the cost of coming back to this board in the future.
Okay, we can review all of those.
Yeah, like I said, and the biggest thing is if you do have expectations, it will change your road design. Sure.
Yeah.
And you want to account for that now.
So if it ends up that we want to do a 4-lot subdivision to avoid major site review, what legally do they have to do with that remaining land? I mean,
It would have
how
to
is that
be
handled?
open space, or it would have to be in a conservation easement, so it couldn't be built on.
Okay, so
Or
since
we'd limit it that they couldn't build on it, and then any future development would have to come back to the planning board, but at that time, the private road would have to meet the standards for a 5-lot subdivision.
Okay.
We could make that just part of lot 4. Jim?
You could.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Steve's got the opportunity to maybe have that be his lot, so it was 4. And then in the future, if it wanted to be, or needed to be divided out, we'd have to come back to the board and see what it triggers for review.
But again, I would
But
look
then
at your
your
road design.
I'm sorry.
Your road is going to be off.
And they can look at that now, 10%,
Yes.
2%.
Yeah, we gotta make that decision up front. And if it's a 10% grade we need to meet to protect the future development, fine.
Yep.
But leave that as part of lot 4, so we're just not into a major subdivision
Yep.
review.
Yeah, you'd still need to treat that as one lot. Obviously,
Correct.
we would need all the wetlands and everything.
Correct, yeah, we still do all the evaluations,
Yep.
but
Yep.
it would be a 4-lot subdivision.
Yeah, it'd be a nice
Yep.
lot. And you may be even to, I guess, I don't know, you might be able to back off your road a little bit too, I don't know. It all depends on, again, because you've got a lot of frontage on lot 3 and a lot of frontage
Yeah,
on
we could take a
4.
look at the frontage
Yeah.
issues, yeah.
So you may do a little reconfiguration, maybe it'll shorten your road a
Maybe.
little bit.
Save a little bit of road.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good, well, that's what we wanted to accomplish tonight is your feedback, and comments, and
Wayne, did you have any
Jim's review.
comments? I know you got your typical dead-end comments.
Right, yeah. The vinyl lane and the hammerhead turnaround comments as part of my memo would be the only other thing I'd add.
The Gone lot, that has a driveway off of Raymond Cape.
Correct.
We will want to know, for safety provisions, what the site distance is and what the separation is from that driveway, because hopefully there's some separation from that one.
That was done 22 years ago.
Okay. I understand that, but just
Yeah.
for safety concerns, looks like the road's got a little bit of a, I don't know if it's straight through there, the road doesn't show beyond, but I think it has a little bit of a bend to it, comes up to the left. But it'd be just good to ideally know the site distance from the proposed road, safety.
So at this point, we would normally schedule a site walk. I'm not sure if that would be, probably would not be beneficial at this point until you guys decide what you want to do for your design. Or I don't know,
The road's not going to change
The road
location.
wouldn't change.
Road-
yeah.
Well, it's not going to
Change.
change location. I don't think it would do any damage to do the site walk now. Do it now while the weather's decent, rather than trying to do it in December or something.
Right, but we'd be wondering if lot number 5 is not going to be, we wouldn't wander all
I
the way
think you
down
can
there.
still, they can still mark it out, and we can still
You still
look
want to mark
at.
it out?
You can see what's beyond the T turnaround.
Yeah.
And we'll know what, we'll know what the.
I think we can
conditions
review the land, and if they decide to divide it or do whatever, but at least we can review the land. I'd prefer to do it, personally, I'd prefer to do it now while the weather's decent.
Go with the snow?
No, I've done those before.
You don't want to walk in the snow.
It's nice walking in there.
Snow's a long ways away.
All right, then, let's put it up to January. What is your timeline?
We just want to keep it moving. This was a critical meeting here, and we could have a layout ready, in a couple weeks. If you set certain times that you schedule these, do you do them before a planning board meeting, or?
The sidewalks?
Sidewalks,
Yeah, no, there's no certain time, we just kind of reach agreeable time, it just has to be, we need to get the notification out, that sidewalk is being done. So the normal process then would be, we have a sidewalk, we do a preliminary as we did earlier, we do a public hearing, and we would do the final. I would not anticipate there'd be a lot of public comment on this.
Right.
We have not gotten a lot of public comment from the other ones that have been around there.
Sure.
So that would just be an assumption.
Yeah.
So we probably would we'd be doing preliminary and public hearing probably at the same day.
Okay.
So your timeline though to meet for the next meeting would be pretty tough to hit.
Right, we would, the deadline was, I think, today to get in.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, but you could schedule the site walk, and then in November, they could come in for their preliminary.
We could be ready in November for preliminary, but site walk, we could be ready, in 10 days or 2 weeks. We want to stake it out.
The 12th of October is our next meeting.
Sandy, what's the notification for site walks?
Well, it has to go into the paper, so if I got a notice put together Friday, because I'm not in tomorrow, I could email it out, they could get it in on the 23rd, that's their next publication that we could make.
And
next meeting's on the 12th of October.
So you could do it anytime after the 23rd.
Of September?
Yes.
Well, that's when it's published, the day after.
Right, but you figure you guys don't normally do those on a weekend, so if you do it sometime the following week, you'd be okay.
Yeah, but I wish Mark and Mike may have a hard time if we do it during the week. Is that?
Yeah, I don't know what their weekends are like though either.
Yeah, that's a good point. So anytime, let's say the 26th on, what are our free days? Early October? I am going to be out of town 27, 28, 29.
Yeah, I'm out that whole week.
You're out that whole week? Perfect.
So first week of October.
First week of October. Preference? What's your schedule like?
Nothing to do.
You have nothing to do?
I don't know. I see a lot of candidate signs out. I don't know about that.
What's the difference? Yeah.
All right. How about the 5th? What do you got on the 5th there?
October 5th.
October 5th?
What's the 5th? What day of the week?
Wednesday. Does that work for you?
That works for me.
October 5th.
October 5th.
At what time? 6?
Yeah, at 6 o'clock on the 5th.
Yeah, that'll give us enough daylight.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
when do we turn the clocks?
not till the end of the month.
Oh, okay, yeah.
5?
Yeah, probably 5 would be better.
5 would be better, yeah.
See, I doubt Mark and Mike are going to make a 5 o'clock.
5:30.
We can tentatively set it for 5, and then if we can
Daylight
justify
savings
it.
times.
Oh, so we should be at,
Remember 6.
at 6
Just before
o'clock.
daylight.
Thing is,
So how many is
Jim,
that?
we advertise the time when we advertise the site walk, so you don't want to be changing it.
No, but
Right.
it'd be good to contact the other board members, is all I'm saying, the next day or two, if they could chime in.
Yeah, that would be easily done.
Is it gonna be light?
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we tentatively do it for, what were you saying, 5:30?
Yeah, I'm wondering if, I would think it'd be still light. It's only a couple weeks from now, right?
Yeah. Shoot for 5:30 on the, what day, on the 5th.
Okay.
And what happens if we push it to that Saturday? Is that okay with you guys?
Okay, well, sure.
Jim?
Yep.
Which days are you talking about? No, sorry.
So that'd be the 8th?
Yeah, we pushed it to the 8th.
To the 8th of October?
Mhm.
I was just looking at the sunrise, sunset.
I don't think we have to worry about the sunrise.
No, but it comes up at the same table. It's amazing how that happens. Sunset is at 6:11 on October 8th.
So 5:30, we could do it.
5:30.
Yeah.
Walk fast.
Yeah, it's a 900-foot road.
Yeah.
You know, and
Is it all, it's all wooded now though, right?
No, it's been cut. The access has been cut.
Oh, it has been
Yeah.
cut. Oh, that makes it a lot easier.
Can we do 5:30?
Okay, so let's
Either
let's
day is-
shoot
okay.
for 5:30 on the 5th.
All right.
But now, is the 8th open for everybody?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm good.
Good, okay. Because I do want, Kevin, are you okay with both dates?
Yeah,
5th?
yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so I do want, we have two board members that have difficulty, I think,
Sure.
at 5:30. If they cannot make it, we may have to push it to the 8th.
That's fine.
Okay?
The 8th is what, Saturday?
Saturday.
And what time would you want to do it on Saturday?
Morning? 9?
9.
Sound good? And Sandy, can we ask you to shoot Mike and Mark emails and ask them, give them those two dates?
I will email them when we're done here, and if I have to, I will text them tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah,
She's gonna do it.
you do not want to ignore
No.
one of Sandy's
Yeah,
emails.
exactly.
Sheesh.
Yeah. She comes to your
I told
house.
you I have experience at nagging.
Yeah.
I may or may not be around on the 8th, but I can, you guys can deal with that. I can take a look at it another day at a time. If it's cut, I can just peruse it real quick.
Okay. Would you, when you email them, would you just tell them our preferences for the 5th, if they can make it?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much for your
You're
time.
very welcome.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, what else we got?
We have nothing else. I just wanted to touch base with you. Alex and I are reviewing a few staff reviews. We've got the school over here, the elementary school, the backside. They did some improvements in there. We've approved that. There was some propane tanks, some dumpsters, some access improvements back there, relatively minor, but it is a steep slope, so there was some stabilization issues with that. We've got Kyle's project down on 302, Sebago Cafe. That's been before us. We haven't approved that, but we're in the process of reviewing that for parking. He wants to do a small expansion, outdoor expansion in the back. So we're looking at the parking revisions and landscaping on 302 for that. Am I missing anything else, Alex?
No, the only other thing would be we accepted a performance guarantee for the Raymond Hills subdivision.
Didn't you do something with Port Harbor Marine for a tank or something? I thought I read that.
Yeah, there is a staff review for that. Jim's not included in that one because it was submitted by Sebago.
Oh, okay. So is Will doing that, or?
Yes. Yep, that was Will and I.
Okay.
Yeah, and the performance bond on Raymond Hills Village, that was just for utilities, correct?
Yeah, and erosion control.
Right. Utilities and erosion
Site
control.
stabilization.
They just wanted to get those connections in now.
Okay.
Yeah, they're actually going to do all of the site work in there for the road and everything before they pull any permits.
Do we need to start looking at ordinance review stuff?
Yep. I would like, if possible, for the next meeting, if anyone has any items they would like to look at, come with that. I have a few, like 3, I think. But if you have anything that you would like to discuss, we'll set that as an agenda item for next month.
Don't we still have some hanging from last round?
A couple minor things,
Okay.
but nothing substantial.
Well, I guess the question, one biggie was the affordable housing, right?
Yes.
And what do we want to do with that, Alex? Because the state obviously
Nothing. Nothing. And that's what I'm instructed to say by the town's attorney.
There you go.
He's very heavily involved with the state on this. And he has essentially told us that we shouldn't waste any time on it until July 1st, 2023. That's when it would actually be more of a concern for the town. He seems to think that things might be changing before we would even be able to update our ordinances. He thinks there's going to be a quick change. So long story short, for now, we don't need to do anything.
Okay. Does that also cover the accessory dwelling unit update the state put out?
Yeah, that would be that, yeah.
That's that, okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought they could have been two separate issues or combined.
No, it's really, well, it is a few separate issues, but I'm combining it all. In my head, it's combined all as one. The other thing is, not to change the subject, but sort of change the subject, the Comprehensive Plan Committee has started meeting in the last month. They've had a couple of meetings. So that's obviously going to be a long process. It's probably going to be something that will affect us more next year, next fall, maybe if things go well. There may be some involvement with the planning board in the next year, but they're just getting started right now.
But to that point, Bob, what we just saw this evening, it's not in our comp plan, but your connectivity issue, maybe something we want the comp plan to consider for.
That's a good idea, Jim.
Because remember, we really couldn't do too much, but we ended up putting some language in there, but we really didn't have any teeth because nothing was in the comp plan.
Right.
I am expecting.
I'm on it.
Oh.
I'll take it.
You take that for it?
Yep.
Thank you.
What a guy.
I take that.
And I am expecting.
About the other 10,000.
No. Don't get carried away.
Alex, you had something else?
Yeah, I am expecting there may be some possible changes to the zoning map that could come from this as well. And, you know, one of the discussions, and I'm sure Greg can talk about it a little bit more at future meetings, one of the discussions may possibly include allowing duplexes in rural, for example, you know, some of the other zones where they're not currently allowed, just to prepare for that down the road so we can try to control it with the ordinances. But that's all stuff that's going to probably come in the next year or so.
If we did that I'm just curious, we did that in other zones, would that fall under kind of a multiplex or a multifamily kind of performance standard? Or could it?
It could. Right now, a duplex doesn't quite fall under that, but they actually aren't allowed in the majority of the zones in town.
Right.
I think they're really only allowed in village residential, and maybe, I think that might be it. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. So that's a little bit easier. There's already performance standards for the multi-unit stuff, which might be something we need to look at because, you know, once you get into 3 units, you're actually doing a subdivision. So it gets complicated real quick.
Maybe also a way to possibly address some of our affordable housing too.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So ordinance review, can I just mention a couple of things?
Sure.
This came from Bill Schabowski's proposal, and I've recused myself, so it's more of a general issue. So I'm concerned about a public hearing being held if it involves a subdivision. It seems to me that people in the subdivision ought to be able to come to a public hearing. There should definitely be one, and it looks like under Article 6, it says, but this is to do with a subdivision plan, not an amendment, but I couldn't find anything regarding just an amendment, but this says a public hearing may be held. I'm just thinking it really should be held, not maybe. And then additionally, under Article 5, the owners to be notified for any amendment to a subdivision are those owners of the property within 250 feet of the property. I'm just thinking it ought to be everyone in the subdivision. And in light of this subdivision having language that says no lot shall be further subdivided, I'm just thinking, what if people depended on that language when they bought in? And so they really ought to be notified of any proposed change. And it just seems like in our ordinances, they might not be. There might not be a public meeting, and they might not get notified because it's only 250 feet. In my subdivision, that would be about a third of the property owners.
So what you're proposing is if somebody comes in here for an amendment to a subdivision, all previous lot owners within that subdivision should be notified.
All current owners, yeah.
That makes sense.
Makes sense.
And I'm also proposing that there ought to be, we should definitely have a public meeting so that they could come and
Yeah,
express
I
their
don't
concerns.
know of a time where we've waived the public hearing for
Yeah.
any,
Yeah, I mean-
but to your point, the language probably should be cleaned up.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the board might change and so whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
I would not like, I would not like to see us lock ourselves into having to have a public hearing for everything that amends, because sometimes it's a very simple amendment that doesn't really affect anyone in that subdivision. You know,
Yeah, it could be just a simple common line between two abutters,
right.
like the one we just did on Egypt
We
Road.
just did one of those.
Well, I think the language could be, in that case, to any affected, well, shoot, it gets hard.
Well, no, but I think you could just make it simple. Any further division, within any amendment that includes division of a lot or creation of more lots would require a notification to everybody in the development.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
All right.
You got that, Sandy?
No, the ordinance changes are your department.
Oh, all right. Well, at least I don't have to do a comp.
Exactly.
I mean,
That's a good idea, though.
well, we can try to figure out the more.
Yeah, I think we just need, if that's one of yours, just put it on a list, bring it to the
Yeah.
October meeting, and
Okay.
we'll,
Would we have normally notified? Probably not. Sandy, would we have normally notified everybody in a subdivision?
No, we do within 300 feet.
Yeah,
I don't know why that
that's a good
says 250.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says.
but it always gets a little weird too, because it depends on how the homeowners association is documented for that particular development, whether they have to be legally notified by their own covenants.
Right.
But we could remove and just take that out of their hands and just say, we would require it.
Right.
And to your point, I agree, if it's impacting a private road and a private development, and somebody tries to create one more lot, it has to come back to the board. We should notify everybody in that development, because it impacts their road, their agreements,
Yep,
homeowners
cost.
association, costs.
Yep.
Typically, they would go down in the homeowners association if they don't have to create more road, but,
But road maintenance goes up.
well,
Because
good by the number of trips,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, just the construction vehicles. Eats up the
Yeah,
road.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just struck me in this subdivision because there's other lots that could be further subdivided. They have enough frontage.
Right.
So if one, then maybe people are gonna go, well,
Yeah, you
hell,
open up the door.
What about, then it's,
Right.
that's not what we wanted. That's not why I bought here, kind of
Yeah.
thing, so.
Mhm.
Well, and the other thing too with that is we always have to be careful of the fact is what was the original lot's residential net density?
Mm-hmm.
Because just because they have the road frontage in the area does not mean they get to split.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that go into those amendments.
All right, anything else? Second?
Okay.
You want to know what came in for our next meeting?
No.
Okay, fine.
Yes, Sandy.
The time you asked me, I didn't remember what they were. I wrote it down tonight. We've got a site plan review for Starrett Snow and Landscape Services across from the town office for them to be able to keep their commercial equipment on the property. And the other that came in is a sketch plan review for a minor residential subdivision off of Eastern Painted Turtle Road, which is also Bill Thompson, who was there tonight.
Oh, okay, that's the one you were just talking about. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they coming in for?
It's actually the lot next door.
Yeah.
I thought that was an approved subdivision.
That was approved subdivision. No?
No, so it's a little complicated. This is actually,
What is it?
there was an illegal subdivision that happened, and the reason that they came in tonight for Steve was that was part of the illegal subdivision. So that one, as well as the one that's coming in next meeting, are both required to correct some issues that have taken place in the last year or two over there. So it was actually the lots that are shown on that plan that you looked at tonight next door. Not the 4 down at the end, but the 4, I believe, on the front end of Eastern Painted Turtle Cove. So it'll make more sense when you see the next submittal when it goes out.
It's already roughed into subgrade. There's all the boxes for the underground utilities. It's like, I live right near there, and I never noticed it until they were clearing up there. I think it was a little over a year ago. They cleared a real lot of timber, and I took a walk up there. And
So you're saying it's the ones on the south side of Eastern Painted Turtle Road?
Yep, there's 5 acres on Cape Road, and then there's a few lots behind that.
Over here?
Owned by Diane Potvin.
Yeah, I don't know about the lots
Right.
here, but I know there's, it seems like both sides of these was built. It was,
And there's open space.
All right, well, we may need a historical
Yeah.
breakdown of this so we understand.
Well, one of the things that I will talk to him about is all of these really should show all of the lots, and it needs to include Brandon Chase's lot as well, because his was included in this. It doesn't need to show all of his proposed lots that he had came to you guys for that never got approved, but it needs to at least show the main parcels, and there needs to be a note that explains what happened. And he knows the history, so he'll be able to put that on there. Originally, it was all 3 lots, and then one owner owned all 3 of them in the same name, which under state law, that makes it one contiguous parcel of land. And then she sold all 3 of those within 5 years, which was essentially at that point a subdivision, because she then created 3 lots within a 5-year period. Beyond that, all of those individual lot owners and herself actually started splitting more because they thought they could do more because it was a parcel, but since it was all in the same ownership, it was actually one parcel. So now we've got like 10 lots that have been created from this one lot, and it's kind of a mess. But so now he's coming in to correct it with the Clark lots and the Diane Potvin lots. Brandon Chase, I don't know where he is out there, but his is still fine. He was actually the first split, so he's okay right now anyways.
So if Clark
we'll
comes in, would this, when he came in tonight in the Painted Turtle, would that then be one application?
No, the attorney said that they can do them separately.
Okay.
As long as there's a note on the plan that shows that it was all part of which parcel at one point in time. But they can actually bring these forward separately. It could get messy on their end, on the civil side, legally, so we just figured that would be the easiest way for these guys to move forward.
Painted Turtle never expired as a subdivision because it seems like it's...
No, it predates the sunset.
Predated our sunset clause. But everything, that'd be interesting because now with a revision, it would have a sunset clause. And this one will have a sunset clause.
So, and just one clarification, the Eastern Painted Turtle Cove subdivision, which is 4 lots at the very end that has funky common land on the shorefront, that's not changing. That's not included in any of this. That was split and subdivided, approved by the planning board in, I believe, 2004 or 5, something like that. That's all good, and it's actually not part of this. So there's no amendment to that approved subdivision. It's all of the other land that's actually being, and none of it was in a subdivision. So it's all new subdivisions. And there'll be separate subdivisions that originated from the same parcel. So it's gonna get messy. It's already messy. It's been messy for a while. You guys have been fortunate enough to be not involved in it until tonight.
Wow. Okay, good things for the future.
On that note,
Do we vote? We have to vote. All in favor? Kevin? Done.
Good job.